Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to my speakers tonight. I'm very excited to be celebrating women in agriculture, just, being here for the purpose of championing everyone in the sector, but never in this space will I never say something about women in farming. Thank you so much for being part of this sessions weekly. For my speakers who always agree, and I sometimes have to bully them into it, but in the end, they enjoy it as much as I do. So I'm not going to spend much more time doing introduction. I think the topic in itself speaks to what we'll be focusing on: cultivating dreams, celebrating women in farming and agriculture and agro processing and all aspects of farming. Okay, I'm going to do with the round of introductions. I'm going to start with Agnes Ho, the CEO of, I hope I'm saying it's this right, AWEA, which is African Women in Agriculture. So, Agnes, thank you so much for being here. Maybe just a bit about you, where your journey started, and more about your organization.
Okay, I am Agnes from African Women in Agriculture, AWEA. Yes, you did say it correctly. We are a farming academy based in Ekenhof, and we've also got a community garden in Alex for beneficiaries from Alex. So yeah, that's who we are. My journey in agriculture, gosh, I always say once you develop a love for the soil and a love for growing stuff, it just doesn't go away. So my journey was accidental, but I fell in love with gardening, just watching things grow and seeing how they grew. And I decided to study more about it on my own. And as a result, I was bitten by the bug. And that's about me.
Thanks so much. I think I've heard parts of your story when I interviewed you, and I really just love how you tell the story of how you started. So thanks so much for being here and sharing a teeny tiny bit of it. There's so much more. So if you'd like to know more about Agnes's journey, then do go to Food from Zanzi's Pharmacy and Track podcast as well. And she's been a speaker at a number of our events too. So yeah, she's definitely a household name with us. And we love you so much for the work that you guys are doing supporting women in agriculture. My next guest, I'm sure I was teasing earlier to say that she's probably heard me speaking a lot more than everyone else today. Her name is Puti Kavasa, and she's the Mopani Queen. It's such a pleasure to have you with me. Puti, maybe you can tell us more about your business, more about your work in agriculture. You joined us on a Twitter Spaces session a few weeks ago, maybe 2 months ago, focusing on insects and edible insects, and focusing on Mopani worms specifically. So maybe you can just tell us more about you and what you do in agriculture. Thanks.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Putika Basa. I'm the founder of Mopani Queens. My journey in agriculture started in 2019. I'm actually in agro-processing, part of agriculture. In 2018, when we got involved with the Mopani caterpillar, processing it into different line of products for our customers. And yeah, 2018 until now, we're still championing the Mopani caterpillar.
Thanks so much, and you're doing amazing work at it. I'm so excited to maybe pick your brain more about edible insects later in the session, but also just to say thank you for what you're doing, for that segment and starting this association, which is absolutely amazing. We'll tell you more about that also on Farmers Inside Track. But thank you so much, Puti. It was great that you agreed to talk to me twice in one day. Thank you so much. My next guest is Ashley. Ashley, I met also on Twitter Spaces. She was here on a panel with some of her colleagues. She's a conservationist. But Ashley, maybe you can tell us more about what you do. You're also a camera operator and social media manager. I think as a woman, you kind of wear many hats, and Ashley's definitely one of those people that wear many hats. So maybe you can tell us more about you and also just how you're connected to conservation, agriculture, and just that story a little bit, Ashley. Thanks.
Hello, Dawn. Thank you so much for having me here again. I'm so excited about this topic because I'm a young, aspiring conservationist. My journey's only recently started. I've always had a love and a passion of working with people and when I moved to Hoedspruit and was surrounded by wildlife, I very quickly realized that I needed to find a way to mend the love for people and wildlife together. So I started studying natural resource management through the African Wildlife College, with my aim to be focused on community-based conservation, which covers a wide range of things. And the one is improving farming practices and promoting peaceful coexistence between people and wildlife. So it's been really to be able to see the powerful women influences in the industry that I've been able to look up to and that have pushed me to taking this step, knowing that it would be difficult in a male-dominated industry. But I'm very excited to share some of that with you tonight.
No, definitely. Thanks, Ashley. And also interesting to get a bit of your perspective in terms of, conservation and agriculture, and also just as a woman. So really happy to have you with me. And thank you so much for agreeing to join us. My last guest, guys, I've been a fan of this lady since I saw her on Farming Simple with Baby. That's a YouTube channel that one of my friends started. Free State Farmer. And when I saw her, I was like, listen, I need to have this woman somewhere on a podcast, on a Twitter space, something. Because her work is really impressive. Molokgadi, thank you so much for joining me here. You're in the most beautiful province in this country, Limpopo. I can't wait to come and visit you on your farm one day. Tell us more about you. You're a poultry farmer. Talk to us about your farming journey.
My name is Molokgadi. I'm a poultry farmer in Limpopo province. The journey started in the worst time ever in the country in 2020. We just got locked down, and we were looking for farms and wanted to choose which commodity we're doing. As it happens, we found a farm and we were struggling with finding an output, which was basically an abattoir. So eventually it happens that where we located the farm, it was also having an abattoir. So as it stands, we are a poultry farmer and we do agro-processing where we slaughter around 2,000 birds a day. So the journey on its own has been a turmoil. When you're looking for one thing and then you have to fill up all the other gaps, that's what happens with when you start to enter into agro-processing, and then you are forced to learn the new ways of market standards and everything else. But all in all, the whole of lockdown, I was been submerged into learning about agro-processing and tapping into new markets.
Thank you so much, Molokgadi. 2,000 birds a day, that's really impressive. So hats off to you for that. And I mean, just in such a short space of time for you to grow and, be at that level, that's absolutely amazing. So yeah, I'm very happy to have you here and to be able to pick your brain and share more of your story with our Gathered to Grow listeners, but also just the broader Food from Zanzi audience. And so happy to have you with me. Okay, now we've done a lot of talking. I've done a lot of talking, but the focus is on the women that are here this evening. And they've actually in part answered my first question, which was the kind of what was the inspiration or what inspired them to pursue a career in agriculture, and a bit about how their journey's been. But now my next question is, as women in the farming industry, what are some of the unique challenges you have faced, and how did you kind of overcome them? And this can be something like as practical as, on farm level in the broader industry. You guys all work. I should stop saying that. All the women in this space as speakers work in very diverse areas, and so, but it all links into agriculture. So I'm going to start with you, Ashley. Maybe you can talk about some of your unique challenges that you faced. You've mentioned, it being a male-dominated industry, although that is changing, but still, sometimes I'm also the only woman in the room, and these are on farms and in boardrooms. So tell us more about your experience, Ashley.
So as I said, because I'm so new to this industry and I always call myself a little baby conservationist, I personally haven't experienced many challenges myself. I think the only thing I remember that was a little bit discouraging is when I was thinking about studying conservation, a lot of people said, don't do it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult because you're a woman. And just having all the incredible, successful women around me, like Teresa MacDonald, who is an incredible ecologist in the area, and Dr. Michelle Henley, who is the director and co-founder for an organization called Elephants Alive. I just looked at them as role models and the difficulties they went through to be able to make it easier for us as women nowadays to get into the field, I knew that if I could be half as strong and dedicated as them, that I can maybe make half as much as of a difference. So I'm so grateful for them pushing through because it makes it easier for me. So luckily, I haven't had many problems yet, but we'll see what the future holds.
Thanks, Ashley. I think what you're saying is I've also heard many, other women that I've spoken to in the sector say um, that other people have almost paid school fees for me in a way, and not just in practical, on farm level, but just having learned lessons and being able to share some of the knowledge and, experience that they've had is something very valuable and should never be overlooked. And Agnes, maybe you can also talk about this. I mean, you come from a very corporate background. How much has that kind of helped you to overcome the challenges within your current space that you work in? And also, how vital is kind of that networking, building that kind of network with women in the industry to be able to grow and develop in yourself?
There has been increasing interest in the participation of women across the farming and agricultural activities, including processing, the value chain, etc. So I love it when we have forums like this where women can come together and talk about the stuff that's happening on the ground to motivate and encourage those who haven't started. And I suppose those of us who are hopefully in the field become pioneers for the ones coming after us. It hasn't been easy to start farming. And I think one of the biggest challenges in farming is access to networks. And when I talk about networks, I'm talking about people who've walked the path that you've walked before. So we farm in Aikenhof. So having somebody who farms in the same area and the same type of crops that you're growing to allow you to learn from their challenges or to partner with you in terms of how do you access the market. When you have bulk growers, you have access to bigger markets, more doors are open to you. So as we farm on 9 hectares in Aikenhof. So we're still relatively small and we do market gardening. But having been through, I would say, the washing machine of the experience, and the reason I'm using the word washing machine is because it's turbulent. Farming, we've just come out of a hectically cold winter. So you can imagine what the frost does to your crop. Droughts, rain, hail, all those things have an impact on your profitability as a farmer. And I don't think any of us can prepare for adequately for weather events. So we try our best in terms of using things like shade net, frost covers, and I suppose irrigation for days when there's potential to have droughts. But the weather is the weather. So there's a lot of stuff that one has to sort of go through and learn. And it would, for us, that's the reason why we're here, is to help other people walk the same journey and to learn from us so that they don't have to make the same mistake that we have made. So I think networks are critical. Having conversations around farming, having conversations around what are the best crops to grow, seasonality, and just the basics of agriculture. Where do I get the best seedlings? Which seems very simple, but that actually impacts on your output. So you don't know these things until you're in the business. So there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of people out there who are ready to talk to people about it or to help people walk the journey. And I think we just need to formalize our networks more.
Thanks so much. That's a very important aspect, kind of formalizing that network. I mean, is it something as practical as saying, hi, I admire you as a farmer. I'm new in this industry. Will you be my mentor? Or, hey, I see that you're doing well with this. Can you show me the ropes? make it very easy to understand, even for me, who doesn't know anything or hasn't really networked in that space. I work in the media sphere mostly, slowly transitioning into agriculture myself, but it's very slow to start. So is it something as simple as appointing, like saying you are definitely my mentor, and also how easy is that? Because as farmers, everyone's kind of really busy, and it takes time to kind of build that mentor-mentee relationship, does it not? Molokhadi, what did you do?
With regard to growth and mentorship of other people, um, for my personal, I have to work with small scale farmers to fit in into the abattoir, and you get a level of input that you cannot, like, you want to push them, but you need to understand where they are coming from, because it's not everything. Like when they say about a laundry, a washer, it gets to that. Sometimes it's experience that put us in this position, or perseverance, or patience, or trying over and over again. But to have young people or other female, especially when you yourself, you don't even have a mentor yourself, but you're relying on information, on textbook, on internet for more information, it's quite hard, and it takes a lot. And at some point you become this brutal mentor in a way, because we are busy, and they want to have a classroom setup in a way. So it is quite a bit of a challenge, especially coming to a point where we don't have mentors ourselves, or the industry has not yet opened up to young female inputs on the desk, around the desk. So it's still a bit of a challenge, but we are here in the field for those that are really want to pursue, and in every sector, in every commodity. I think you just have to put your hands up there, and then you persevere to the cause.
I hear you, and I'm sure many of the other, more established farmers will share your sentiment in terms of it's not a classroom setup, so you kind of have to take what's dealt, and make your kind of own mistakes and learnings, and take what you can from the person that's willing to give it at that point. Maybe I can get put into this conversation just to talk about how she envisions, women in farming, and kind of what is the steps that you believe are essential for greater gender equity in the sector. And I want to specifically talk about your industry, because I spoke to you this afternoon, so I kind of understand what some of your challenges are in terms of, edible insects, and just the thinking around that. But maybe you can talk about your own commodity and what you're busy with in terms of agro processing and broader in the industry as well. What is your ideal farming industry for women?
For us, it's very different ball game, because we are the pioneers in value addition for Mopani caterpillars in the entire region. So you find yourself in a position where you have to lead the industry, so to speak. A lot of smaller people who want to, or newer insectpreneurs who want to venture into the space tend to knock on our doors and say, "Oh, how did you do this? How are you getting in shops? How are you processing?" So you find yourself in a position where, do I share and welcome everybody, or do I keep to myself and become the only one? So it came to a point where we realized that it's very important that we all get together. So we ended up establishing an NPO that will do exactly that. Get into the edible insect space in South Africa. Find as many people as there are who are actively, involved in edible insects, whether it's farming for food or for feed, that can be used in agriculture, and share knowledge. So it's a lonely journey, but now it's starting to get better. And in terms of equality, I think for us, working with a lot of our workers and the industry at the collection stage, most of the people are female. So that has been very welcoming. You deal with very motherly figures who understand your story and are able to share knowledge with you about the caterpillars, how to look after them, how to process them, and all of that. And then the ball changes when you are now coming to the market, where you have to sell your products and get them into shops. And you find buyers that are male, and the language is different. Um, what they expect from you is different. The pace is different, and it's just we're hoping that with this IFASA organization, we'll be able to get like-minded people together so we can learn from each other, educate buyers, educate the country, so to speak, on this agro processing of edible insects, farming of edible insects. So yeah, it's been quite interesting so far. And we hope, we will meet people who will be able to mentor us as well, because sometimes it's a bit challenging trying to figure it out on our own.
Thanks so much. And I think I've already become a mini champion of your cause, and what you're trying to do with your NGO, and also just trying to get people's thinking changed around edible insects and incorporating more of that into their diet. So thanks so much for that. Let's talk more about, the role of women, or what role you think women play specifically in promoting sustainable and eco-friendly farming practices. I know, maybe get Agnes back into the conversation just to talk about the woman in her network. Small subsistence producers, smallholder producers within her network. Maybe you can talk about the lived experiences of people that kind of just do what they do day to day and don't really get that I'm doing this sustainably. I'm an eco-friendly farmer. They just do what they do day to day.
So one of the things that we found with Aware is that when women contribute to agriculture, the whole family benefits from the extra nutrition, i.e., from their produce. And we have inadvertently sort of become part of the food security solution, because now we found we need to now start talking about women will not sort of solely grow for the market. They will grow for the market, and a little bit will go to their families. So we found that additional, I suppose, benefit of working with women in the agricultural space, but they also tend to be more communal in their approach to farming. So we found we're African women in agriculture, but at times we find that we work with some young men who also we cannot turn away. And we found that the men are more assertive, aggressive, and driven towards, I want to make money, I want to create a business, whereas the women are more communal. Let's all work together, and you'll find a woman will be working, her grandmother's working the same garden, and they all it's a different approach from our perspective. But the challenges are, I suppose, the same for everybody. And most of it is things like access to finance. Women, and we've talked about this for a very long time, access to credit because they don't have collateral, limited education, and possibly things like mobility. How do I travel from point A to point B? How do I take my goods to the market? What's the cost of transporting my goods to the market? And then there's the normal, when we talk about women in agriculture, and the biggest challenge is the socio-cultural issues. Women are seen as they should be at home, working the land, working the garden, but not necessarily being the hardcore business people. And I liked what the Puchi, I think the Mopani lady said, when she says there's two different types of language that one uses, the hardcore commercial, when you're doing business versus the nurturing when you're, I suppose, buying produce. And as women, we have to juggle between the two worlds, because we also want to participate in the hardcore commercial world, of selling produce to bigger producers, to the pick and pays, to the bigger markets. And possibly export is everybody's big dream. And then on the ground, we've got the smaller producers. So maybe I would have to aggregate produce from smaller producers who I need to talk to differently. So we have to juggle all these worlds. And in order for us to succeed and say, yes, I have succeeded, I have created a viable and sustainable income from my farming business. Because it's no longer just about feeding the family. It's about more than that at this point in time. We have to have bigger dreams, and that's what we are working towards.
Definitely. And I think a big part of this conversation is also, around how do we do that? Like, how do we continue to encourage women to do that and to not just be okay with this now and understand that there is something bigger out there that you can move towards it despite all the challenges. I know that sounds very cheesy, but I mean, it is possible. I mean, how did Molokhari, for example, get from struggling in COVID to slaughtering 2,000 chickens in a day? Like, that story, I really want to know. What did you do? How did you practically do it? Well, Khadi, maybe you can, come back into the conversation and share, because a big part of it is also celebrating everyone on this call. What would you say is some of your, biggest achievements or milestones in your farming career that you're particularly proud of?
Pursuing, like I said, when we started, we only wanted to grow chicken until it has led us into agro processing. So I just kept on pushing and networking and um trying to find more information as much as possible. Abattoir has different needs, different standards, compliance and regulations and everything else. But it has been that much of a challenge that eventually, when you start to see small scale farmers approaching you to say that please be our offtake market, and I was thinking about it and say that I also looking for an offtake market. I'm also not yet at that level where you guys are actually perceiving me. If I take your chickens, I need to know where I'm taking them, and I need to negotiate price. It needs to make a business sense. So all in overall, it was a good struggle. I think being determined and passionate about where you want to see your product is what drives you in the morning to just wake up and try again. And I also have the student programs that I'm doing an intake every year. So we started our first intake early this year, and I always made it my mission that out of 4 students, 3 has to be girls and 1 boy. And they get the pleasure to see my pain and my joy and my celebration, my achievement, and they're literally my right hand ladies at this point, because that's what I always wish, that I had somebody who put me by their hip and say this is how it's done. And I always say to them that it's not going to be right the first time, but we try again, we improve. If it is good, we improve from that. If it's workable, we expand towards that. So the achievement are just there, and we always have to choose celebration, even if it's for a minute, over a pain that can be for 59 minutes. So it's always like that, and there's no room to give up. There's no room to withdraw yourself. So we just end. So every celebration that comes, it's such a pat in the back.
Celebrate the small wins. I'm all for it. I really am continuously. I think that's how I get through most of my days. Yeah, remember this is an engaging platform. So if you'd like to, share your comment, I got a comment here from Tumi saying, there's literally so little we can do if policymakers are not accommodating these concerns when drafting these. Then the importance of network marketing, offtake agreements, maintenance. Yes, that is so true. Any comments on what Tumi is saying? Tumi, I'd love to hear your voice too. If you'd like to join the conversation, request the mic. Anyone have similar experiences, take on this specific aspect? Actually, I know you're not in primary agriculture. I'd like to come back to you with a conservation question as well. But Puti or Agnes, any comments on that?
For me, in terms of standards and regulations, and hey, it's been quite a headache because, I'm coming from an industry where edible insects are not even defined anywhere in the regulations for foodstuffs. So it's quite difficult. It's one of the hardest challenges for us trying to convince the market to pick this up as a food option that they come from. So what are your standards? What is happening here? It's one of the reasons, one of the biggest reasons why we started this IFASA is to try to drum up support and get regulations behind us to actually empower us to be able to go into the market and say, we are here, we're edible insects, you can use us in foodstuffs, you can use us in your livestock and feed. Yeah, definitely agree with you. To me, regulations are very, very important in driving the industry, agriculture, and protecting the industry and growing the industry.
Any comments on from your side, Agnes?
I was going to say, interestingly, there are very few women involved in the policy formulation side of the industry. So we are participants, but yeah, when you go into those rooms where the decisions are made, and it's actually really interesting because the policies do affect us, and it means that we need to learn to, I suppose, play in those fields as well. So rather than just being in the industry and farming and complaining about the lack of access, some of us should go into the policy formulation side and be the voice for the women who are actually in the field.
Tumi has agreed and took the mic. Tumi, you wanted to add something?
Okay. Hello, everybody. I was saying that as a concern. I am a potato farmer based in the Northwest. And because there isn't a lot of us in the Northwest who are growing potatoes now, who have set certain goals for themselves with very limited access to land. If there's only two of us female farmers who are growing potatoes and who has aspirations of going commercial, each of us have got 10 hectares. And because we have a problem, a very huge problem with water, there's also red tape around water rights. When it comes to policy, there's just so many hurdles that you have to sort of fight, going to the boardroom, back to the tractor, where you end up not really knowing. By the time you reach your goal, you are so exhausted. So if there were more women in the same industries forming these networks to say, listen, for instance, Katleho has got 10 hectares, I've got 10 hectares to plant on. Why don't we rotate to make sure that we are able to service this client that I have that is going to award me the commercial farmer status? I think that's the importance of that. I think we sometimes as farmers don't see the importance of collaboration, and we end up losing so much because it's I, not realizing that we've got bigger problems than just your name on the billboard or your brand at Pick and Pay. It is, you have red tape already. You have men in boardrooms that when you're going to negotiate these offtake agreements that are telling you the most technical language you don't even understand. What I know is a potato. There's nothing you cannot say about a potato that I don't know. But we're going to get to the boardroom and they're going to tell you, the potato we want is this. It has to have this moisture. It has to be this. It needs to be in the soil for this long. Those are not a problem with me, but they get technical when it comes to the market value.
Definitely. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think, so often we talk about you have to be an overall business person or businesswoman, and you have to be able to kind of work and play in all of these places. But there's no roadmap to it. And in terms of the policies, I mean, we've had number of conversations about this on these platforms. But I think maybe it is. I'm going to go back and listen to what we said last year this time, because I had this very same conversation or session last year. And I want to kind of just map how much has changed, what we've done, how the industry's changed, and what are the why do we keep having these same conversations? Agnes, um, Ashley, what is your take on what Tumi has just mentioned? Anyone to unmute their mic and just contribute? Thanks.
Food safety is a huge concern, and as consumers, that's one of the big things that we sort of look for, to say we want to walk into a supermarket and be sure that the food that we consume is healthy, nutritious, etc. But that makes it very cumbersome on the farmer. So there's two sides to the food safety. There's obviously the consumer side, and there's the farmer side. So the farmer has to be certified. He has to go through various stages of um, process of certification or verification to say that his food is good for consumption. And those are the areas that can become barriers to smaller farmers because they do cost money. In terms of putting in the processes to maybe become certified organic or become certified GAP, whether it's local GAP or global GAP. So all those policies around food safety, although we understand the value in them, they actually become a deterrent to a lot of young farmers. And that's why I agree with what Tumi was saying in terms of consolidating your orders or having a consortium of farmers where you all would, I suppose, pool the costs and be able to cultivate on a larger piece of land, and you have more bargaining power when you sit in those boardrooms. As sole farmers, we actually don't have any power, and we need to learn to network and consolidate our resources to ensure that we get the best outcomes for ourselves.
Yeah, I hear you. Any other comments, Molokade? You wanted to add something?
Yes, Don. Yeah, I think it's what entails is there's a farmer and there is a consumer, which is it was an eye opener when we were busy with the abattoir certifications and everything, and it changes the whole thing. For instance, in our tour, Department of Health and Department of Agriculture, they are working together in ensuring that quality food is being given to the consumers. And you go to the Department of Health, there are so many hoops for you to jump in. You go to the Department of Agriculture, there's still another bunch of hoops for you to go into. Even though we're looking at in a, I think eventually, personally, I end up consolidating myself that it is what it is for the sake of my consumers. I need people to eat my produce and to buy them again and over and again. But pulling ourselves together, for instance, like I mentioned, that working with the small scale farmers, I need to educate them. Why do I need my chicken in this um, size, skin texture? I need to educate them. And it's quite a challenge because it looks like I'm not intending to work with them. I'm creating the red tapes, but I had to sit down with them, create a workshop with them to just ensure them that they do understand that we need to produce um, safe food as well as where consumer will come back and buy your produce. It is going to be very effortless to have your product and not be able to sell it because the end point is the consumers, and the consumers needs to come back and buy your product again. So it's quite a challenge. It's a matter of education, workshop, training, making information available, not in a because one other thing is that we're having a pressure of being commercial. I always ask myself, what is being commercial? Commercial, for me, I define it as being able to stay in the game throughout winter and summer and all that. Do not reduce your production because it's winter. Do not, you remain in the game when you're commercial, you take all in. But we are having 80% of small scale that are contributing towards food security. That on its own, it shows that not everybody can be a commercial, and we cannot enforce commercial rules over small scale farmers. So it's quite a challenge, but having a platform to speak about it and engage on it and actually make a difference, if it's a matter of, there's no adjustment probably, but in a matter of having the right quality out, it can be produced at any scale for me. So those are just my input towards food safety.
Thanks, Molokade. Ida, I see you wanted to comment and speak, Nompi. You have the floor.
I'm a dairy farmer here in the Eastern Free State. My question is directly to the lady who spoke about the potatoes from Northwest. I just want to ask her, since she's on the primary production, like what are the challenges in terms of producing a product quality? Because looking at the input, the price keeps going up, while the selling price, I would say maybe it's more like fixed. If that's in the taking your product, maybe at R5, then it's R5. So I just want to check on her side. Is it still the same thing? Or maybe if you added more value on your product, you can try to negotiate the price, or you're giving the price, you don't have much power to to tell you don't have much say when it comes to the price. And the other thing I want to tell her, I think I learned it from my father just before he passed on. He once told me that nobody called you to farming. This is your business. Nobody forced you to start a business. And it's not going to be easy. I'm a lady. I'm still young. I fully understand what she's saying. But we all need soldiers like her, to keep on fighting so that we can pave the way for the next generation. Someone did it for us. We have to do it to the next generation. I so wish she can gather all the strength, and get that breakthrough she's looking for and be on the commercial level, as a dream. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Nompe, my favorite dairy producer, right? I admire your work, and to me, I was inspired by that. Your take, what do you think? How do you feel?
I've been a farmer for 13 years. And what I've learned is not to be shaken when I find somebody who seems to know more than I do. And that I think is, just building that confidence and specializing in one thing and actually getting it so perfectly right where nobody can tell you about or make you doubt or make other people doubt your product. That's the first thing. Because I have that confidence in my product, I do not negotiate my rates. Take it or leave it. And because of that, people are knocking on my door for my product. It's as simple as that.
I hear you, and I think that's always key when it comes to agriculture. Make sure that the produce speaks for itself and the rest will follow. We are nearing the end of our conversation tonight, and I wanted to, ask a few questions around technology and innovation and how you think that's shaping the future specifically for women's participation in agriculture. Ashley, maybe you can give your take on this question. Thanks.
I'll try my hardest with this question, Dawn. I don't know how much I contribute with regards to technology. The first thing that came to my mind is technology and research go together. And the one organization that I look up to the most, Elephants Alive, they do so much research on subsistence farming. And because there's these large corridors between our wildlife spaces where you get communities living, they are doing this research to find out which crops will be least palatable for animals like elephants to reduce the conflict between the humans and the wildlife. And they are actually going into these communities and they're facilitating beekeeping and horticultural programs to empower the local women specifically. And I think all the research that they're doing is just making that so much more beneficial and promoting peaceful coexistence and just uplifting women as the community leaders and just making strong role models. So that's all I think I have to add on that. I didn't really think too much about the technology side of things.
Thanks, Ashley. TM, you'd like to join the conversation? Or Molokadi, you wanted to say something?
I'll also say that research, technology, and adjusting. It makes no sense for us to have all this research available and technology being implemented, and we are not willing to adjust to the new dawn of farming or the new dawn of conservations. So I think that we need to open up as women, also emphasize on adjusting to new changes. We are doing this for the next generation. We always talk about generational wealth, but if you're doing that in a way of demolishing the earth that we only have, what good will it be in there for the next generation? So technology, research, and adjusting.
Thanks, Molokadi. TM, you'd like to contribute? Thank you so much for being here. What's your take?
Mine is just a comment. I am involved in SME development, and I once attended a session with BP. And they mentioned that they were looking for, I think, the Mopani lady. My apologies, I joined late. I didn't get your name. They were looking for products like hers. And I remember in that conversation, I particularly thought of her product. They were looking for strange, healthy foods that are not normally in the market to put in their convenience stores. And I thought it was a smart option because they were saying South Africans consume a lot of unhealthy foods, and that was part of their way of contributing to people eating healthy foods. So I just wondered if she is aware of that. If not, I think I would encourage all the ladies to just once in a while take advantage of these corporate ESD, enterprise and supply development conversations. You normally find strange topics that you wouldn't expect under corporates that would affect farmers. And I always think, I wonder how many farmers would be in the call. So I encourage the ladies to participate if possible.
Thank you so much, TM, and I hope that you and Puti, who's the Mopani Queen lady, can connect. I think a big part of this is also just to kind of share this kind of information. So thank you so much for sharing your insights, and for encouraging again to look at other opportunities outside of maybe what is traditionally available or known in the sector. And you kind of don't know until you open up a door, and then there's like great opportunities in that space that you might not even be aware of. So thanks so much for that. I'm going to do one round of kind of last comments, maybe just something that you'd like to say to other aspiring women farmers, women who's aspiring to go into agro processing, diversifying into a different commodity, or any encouraging word as an end. And then just one tip about how you guys balance it, because that was one of my questions. How do you balance farming, agriculture with all the other aspects of your life? Because through this entire space I was still cooking dinner. But I made it, and the food is just about to go into the oven. But I loved it, and I just like to ask you guys for advice. I'm going to start with Puti, and I'm also going to ask the speakers who joined and also spoke on the session to also share their inputs.
Oh, any last words? For the women in agriculture, who want to join agriculture, agro processing, it's going to be tough. You just be ready for it and tap into your instinct as a woman. We are naturally have this capability and an ability to multitask. So don't limit yourself and use that natural instinct to plan scenarios, have a plan A and a B and a C. Talk to as many people as possible, and try to network. It won't work when you're doing it on your own. I mean, I always laugh when I laugh and appalled at the same time when I meet people and they confuse me with Wendy who does Matomani, and I'm like, that's good. When you see her, you must see me. So they should know that we're here, we've arrived. So that those types of connections and relationships can really build you and help you to navigate, and just to uplift you as well sometimes, because it can get really tough to a point where you just want to sit down and cry. Sometimes crying is okay, and other times you just need to get up and get that pat on the shoulder from a fellow woman, mentor, or somebody who checks on you and who encourages you weekly, so you can make it. And as for how do I juggle it, there's no time to sleep. People must eat. So by the time you go to sleep, somebody's waking up and looking for food because they have the night shift. So you try as much as you can to balance it. But it's actually also very important to take time off for yourself. I know who work with food and agriculture, we never have time to go and do our nails, for example, because then after I do my nails, and then what? So find other ways of relaxing and being feminine and just enjoying yourself as a woman, and you'll make it.
Thanks, Puti. And I think I've actually been one of those people that made that mistake once with you and Wendy. Agnes, you up next up?
Okay, I read a very interesting quote this week, and it said, "Success isn't linear," and that's my mantra for this week. Success is not linear; it's about resilience, effort, and the ability to learn in the face of turbulence. So we all know that agriculture is not easy. It requires juggling, resilience, a lot of no's before you get the yeses. So all those who want to participate in the industry, the key word is just understand that success is not going to be easy. It's not a straight line. There's ups, downs, turns. And it's the same with how do we balance it all? You just keep all the balls in the air. Try to relax when you can. Um, the lady who previously spoke before me talked about having your nails done. I'm a girly girl. I have to have my nails done. That's the one thing. Anything else doesn't need to be done, but I have to have my nails done because it just, I don't know, it does something for me. So yeah, find time to relax, do stuff that you love, cook, I don't know, have your nails done, your hair done, whatever it is, but maintain balance.
Balance is definitely key, Agnes. I couldn't agree more. Ashley, your last take?
For me, not really being in this industry, it's been very incredible to listen to all of you incredible women speak so much about agriculture and learn from you. But I think for the future of women in conservation and agriculture, it's all got to do with the strong role models around us and the community outreach programs and just being someone that those little girls can look up to and know that they have a chance because of you. And I think that's beautiful, and that's what I'm going to strive to be for them, and just as all you women are for people like me. So it's really awesome to be on this platform and just see how empowered women can be and how brave and strong and capable we all are. So thank you so much for letting me join this conversation.
I'm doing a little happy dance, Ashley, because I couldn't agree more. I'm going to go to Molokhadi, and then I'm also going to give Tumi and Mopi a chance to also share their thoughts.
My motto is that my hugs are warm and soft, but when I'm hugging ladies, because I'll be like, I understand what you guys are going through. I understand when you're up at 2 a.m. But I also say that my handshake are very firm when I'm have to be in a room full of men. So that on its own, it motivates, and it just reminds me that who are you? You're in a male dominated industry, but you need to stay on. You need to stay fighting. But when I'm around ladies, I do break down a lot because I do understand. But all I'm saying is that we need to hug and have a smooth, a glass of wine here and there. But remember that when you're going out there, make sure that your handshake are very firm so that they can know and understand that ladies are here and, we are going to keep going on. So that is all to ladies. Kudos to everybody. And I'm really inspired and refueled at this point.
And I really enjoyed it. To me, Nompi, just like 1 minute between the two of you of just your last comments. Thanks.
I think it's to me. I think the key for me would what I would wish for somebody to have told me when I started my journey in farming was for me to get a therapist. It is not easy. I found myself a number of times sitting with goats and just crying because I didn't know if I should just load everything in the truck and go sell and just close shop, or cry and go sleep and then wake up in the following morning and carry on. It becomes a struggle when you are not mentally strong. You can be resilient physically and emotionally, but if your mental health is not as strong, it's easy for you to just give up. Also, applaud the lady who is doing poultry chicken. It's one of the things that poultry or chicken. It's one of the things that literally brought me to my tears one time because there was an outbreak. Things like that. If you're not mentally strong and you don't take care of yourself, like you've been stressing, you're bound to have doubts in your journey. They do happen, but they shouldn't be powerful enough to drive you to close shop.
Thanks to me. Nompi and team is also here.
Okay, is number. Well, in my line of work, which is dairy, I'll say discipline is the key. You can be a hard worker, be smart, have all the resources, but if you're not disciplined, all that is all in vain. That's what I can say because, in my industry, every 2 hours or at least 3 hours, you have to make rounds. Even at night, you have to make rounds up until you start milking again, which is 3 o'clock. Because, cows calve anytime. You can't really tell when they start calving. You got to check on them every 3 hours or at least 4 hours to check what's happening on your farm. So if you're not disciplined, you're out there living your life, it's going to be a problem. So I would say not everyone is a farmer, and we are not all born to be dairy farmers. Hence, we have all these different commodities and we find different farmers, we're not doing all of them. We have our own calling. So it's much easier to be disciplined when you're doing what you love or what you were born for.
Thanks, Nompet. I really appreciate everyone contributing, joining as speakers, being part of the conversation. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. I think I'm definitely going to go back and listen to last year's session, compare it to this year. And I think there were some notes from Tumi. Maybe we should really start setting like a type of goalpost. We're like, okay, by next year, this time, we want to kind of have those people that can have more of a say in terms of policy and kind of look at that. I mean, this is just a small group of women for this hour and are contributing, but I think there is further action that we could possibly take. So let's see. I mean, there's so much more that we can do that we maybe not even aware of right now. So everything of the best with your farming journeys from my side. I admire all of you. I look up to most of you, all of you, also in my journey. So thank you so much and everything of the best. And have a great rest of the evening. Bye for now.